Okay, you should be good to go.
Okay, on People's 11, do you see this?
Yeah. You just have to mute on
Okay,
there.
just muted.
And did you, when you share screen, did you share sound too? Okay. Yeah, you'll keep that
Yeah.
muted. When you share screen, you have to make sure you click share sound. Otherwise, it won't share through there.
I think I have it, and I muted myself. So we
Okay,
should-
very good.
On People's 11, you see the 3 files.
Yes, sir.
All right, and did you find and label these files from Mr. Glasgow's phone extraction?
I did.
All right, now before we get into any of them, do you recall what type of files these are?
These were, they turned into short video files that typically referred to as a live photo.
Okay, so quick 3 or 4 second.
Oftentimes, when you have a new smartphone, you take a photograph, it will capture a short 3-second video. Sometimes it will use the best image that was captured during the course of that short window of time to provide the user with the appropriate image that you're trying to capture.
I'm going to start with video 5.
Down, and then you run up to their Facebook. Down, and then you run up to their Facebook. He with his head down.
All right, so looking at video number 5 from People's 11, how long is the video itself?
Appears to be 3 seconds.
All right, and I have this paused at 1 second in. Do you see, describe what you see in the video?
I see Mr. Trentarian Glasgow standing to his left of the video proper. He's holding a cell phone. It appears that he's speaking into the cell phone. And to his left is another gentleman wearing all black that refers to as Bandit.
He with his head.
Bandit,
Bandit.
bandit.
All right, now I'm gonna play it, and I know it's quick.
He with his head down, and then you run up to their Facebook. He with his head down, and then you run up to their Facebook. Head down, and then you run up to their Facebook.
Okay, do you know what they're saying in video number 5?
He starts off by saying that his had his head down, and then me and Bandit ran up to that bitch and put it. And they're indicating that, or pantomiming rather, that they're shooting guns.
Okay. All right, I'm showing, you see this is video number 4 in the upper left-hand corner.
Yes, sir.
All right, and how long is this video?
It appears it's also 5 seconds long.
All right, and I have it paused just about a second in. Who is depicted in this video?
Again, looking at the screen, Mr. Trentarian Glasgow is to the left, wearing a light colored shirt. Again, to his right is a gentleman that he identifies as Bandit.
been popped out.
You hear that?
Yes,
All right, I'm gonna play it one more time.
Been popped out.
What was said on video 4?
we just hopped out and then he made the noise or the sound that's commonly referred to gunshots. And then pantomime the motion of the tail.
I'll show you. What video is this from People's 11?
It appears to be video 2. It's also 3 seconds long.
And who's depicted in this?
Again, Mr. Trentarian Glasgow, if you're looking at the screen, to the left, wearing a light colored shirt, black pants. And then the gentleman to his right, again, someone who refers to as Defendant.
Back this up. Play.
He in a U-Haul. He with his head down. He with his head down.
Did you hear that?
I did.
All right, what was said on that video, number 2?
In regards to order, that appears that it should have been on the front end, because he says he's in his U-Haul with his head down, which was the beginning of the first video that you showed. Okay. So identify the U-Haul with his head down.
Why were these videos, why did you record these, or secure these videos as part of your investigation?
In regards to timeline, it was directly after the shooting. GPS videos placed in a residence that was the vehicle that was involved in the shooting was located within 50 yards of that residence and had distinct comments about the fact pattern of the actual shooting in regards to U-Haul. And then Mr. Glasgow saying that he and Bandit jumped out and then pantomime shooting said U-Haul.
Now, you said, as part of your answer to the last question, one of the reasons these videos were important was timing. If you could explain what you mean by that for the judge, please.
Yes, Judge, the initial call went out, and as you heard previously from undercover officer Zuber, his observations of the shooting that took place in the south side of Lansing around approximately 1:52-ish there on the 21st of November 2024 in regards to path of travel and then back to this residence in Holt. The timeline winds up, I believe, that these videos are timestamped for 12:30 approximately, so roughly a half an hour after the shooting. So in regards to knowledge thereof and travel time from the scene and in proximity to the vehicle, that's why I felt it was important.
All right, I want to clarify something. You said the time the call, the shooting was 1:52.
Excuse me, 11:52.
And then the videos were around 12:30 p.m.
Yes, sir, approximately 12:30.
All right. And all of these videos that we showed on People's 11 were made the day of the shooting.
That is correct.
All right, next, I want to move forward one day. So November 22nd, 2024. Were there events on that specific day that were relevant to the shooting investigation the shooting that occurred on November 21st, 2024?
Yes, sir, there were.
All right, and what specific event occurred on the 22nd that was relevant to the shooting on the 21st?
The Violent Crime Initiative, the City of Lansing Police Department made contact and conducted a traffic stop upon Mr. Glasgow, which he was a front seat passenger in the vehicle. Upon contact, they collected firearms from Mr. Glasgow that matched the caliber of shells that were located on the scene the day prior.
Okay, and were you present during that traffic stop?
I was not.
All right, but had you had the opportunity to review any evidence that was collected during that traffic stop.
Yes, sir.
So I'm going to show you a couple items that have been admitted as part by stipulation. Specifically, show you what has been received as People's 18. What is in People's 18?
That is commonly referred to as a ghost gun because there's no serial number on it. It appears to be manufactured. That is a 9mm caliber firearm.
All right, so the firearm, is it a handgun, long gun, something else?
It is a handgun.
Okay, and you already gave me the caliber, which was 9mm.
Correct.
Why is that important to your investigation from the shooting on November 21st?
The CSI officer collected 9mm casings from the scene.
Okay. I'm going to show you what has been received by stipulation. People's 21. What are we looking at in People's 21?
That is a firearm as well. It's called a hell pup, I believe. That is the name of it. And it is a 7.62 by 39 caliber firearm.
Okay. Now,
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the exhibit number.
21. Is this gun shaped differently than the previous one we looked at in the previous exhibit?
Sir, it is.
How would you describe this one in comparison to the other?
That some would typically call that a long gun. However, I don't work for the ATF, so I can't designate if it's considered a pistol or a long gun.
Okay. And then I'm going to move to People's 23. See People's 23?
Yes.
All right. Is this a closer image to the previous exhibit that I showed you, People's 21?
Yes, sir.
Is it okay? All right. What about People's 23 is being depicted or covered here?
The manufacturer stamped the caliber of the firearm 7.62 by 39.
All right.
Firearm.
Why is that caliber important to your investigation for the shooting that happened on November 21st?
Those rounds were consistent with, again, the rounds that Officer Olson, the crime scene investigator, located on the scene.
7.62 by 39, is that a caliber that you frequently come in contact with?
I do not.
Okay. How many times in your career have you come in contact with a 7.62 by 39?
Less than 5, probably, if I'm guessing.
Judge, I think those are all the questions I have for detectives only. Thank you.
Thank you. Detective, my name is David Carter. I represent Mr. Glasgow in this matter. I just have a few questions for you. If there's
Yes,
a
sir.
question you don't understand, please let me know and I'll try to rephrase that fair enough.
Yes, sir.
You indicated that you had downloaded the data from the Audi Infotainment Center or whatever. Is that correct?
Again, I contacted MSP.
Right.
And yes.
But
they
you
did.
got that
That is
information.
correct.
Now, that information dealt with, you found that certain items were connected to the car and then disconnected, correct?
In regards to the infotainment center information, it didn't give, I don't recall it giving specific dates and time that came from Mr. Glasgow's phone.
All right.
It did indicate that a phone with that IMEI number as well as cell phones calls are made via that IMEI number.
All right. Did this infotainment center have any video?
No, sir.
Okay, so it didn't have videos of people who may have had this phone, correct?
That's correct. It did not have any video.
You can just make the assumption that Mr. Glasgow's phone was in the Audi.
The phone that we got off Mr. Glasgow, that particular phone was connected to Audi, yes.
But you don't know who actually had that phone at that time.
There's no video.
All right, thank you. I have nothing further.
Any redirect?
None, Judge. Thank you.
Thank you, judges. Any other witnesses?
I have one more, Officer Aaron Bush, and I will go retrieve him.
You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give is the truth and the whole truth under penalty of perjury.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Can you state your first and last name and spell both?
Aaron Bush, AARON BUSH.
You can proceed.
Thank you. Sir, are you employed?
Yes, sir.
How are you employed?
At the Lansing Police Department.
And in what capacity?
I'm a police officer assigned to the Violent Crime Initiative.
And how long have you been assigned in that capacity?
Been an officer for almost 6 years and I've been on BCI for over 2.
I'm going to draw your attention to the date of November 22nd, 2022. I'm sorry, 24. Were you working on that day?
Yes, sir.
And in your capacity as an officer with the Lansing Police Department, Violent Crime Initiative.
Yes.
All right, on November 22nd, 2024, were you and members of the VCI team conducting surveillance?
Yes.
And what was that that surveillance in relation to?
It was in relation to an attempted murder investigation for an incident that occurred the day prior.
A shooting investigation on the November 21st?
Yes.
All right. And were you looking for an individual that was possibly connected to that shooting?
Yes, we were looking for a suspect that we were planning to arrest on probable cause.
Did you have a name for that individual?
Trentarian Glasgow.
Okay, and what sort of investigation goes into, or I'm sorry, what sort of steps go into that surveillance before you even start that process?
Letting everybody else on DCI know the location, who we're looking for, what they look like, and mapping out the area so we strategically place officers to cover all angles of surveillance.
Okay. Is a part of that process looking at images of the person you're looking for,
Yes,
so you can identify the person on site?
yes,
And did that happen, at least as far as you are concerned, before going into surveillance on November 22nd?
yes. I had also had one prior in-person contact with Glasgow.
Okay, so you knew him beforehand.
Yes,
All right. On November 22nd, 2024, while you were a part of surveillance,
yes,
as part of the surveillance timeline, did there come a point where you were able to make visual identification of Mr. Glasgow?
surveillance was also done the night prior where Officer Jenks saw him enter the building.
Okay,
We weren't able to make a plan to arrest him by the time his identity was confirmed. He was already inside. We don't know what apartment he was going to.
okay,
The next day, when surveillance was re-established, I saw a female exit the building and get into a blue Dodge Journey, while other officers on the back of the building saw a black male who was later identified as Glasgow exit the building and get into the front seat of that same vehicle with the female.
okay. And did that vehicle travel or did it just stay there?
It traveled, it left the parking lot of the apartment complex. When it did so, it drove past me and with the passenger side facing the front windshield of my vehicle where I was looking out. And I made eye contact with the male front passenger. It appeared consistent with Glasgow's physical appearance, but yet his hood up, portions of his face were covered.
Okay,
But I believed it to be him based off what I could see.
okay. What happened as the vehicle traveled away?
They went south on Waverly Road.
When you say they, are you referring to the vehicle?
Yes, sorry, the vehicle with the female driver and the male passenger.
And I don't remember if you said, what was the make and model of that vehicle?
It was a blue Dodge Journey,
Okay, so the blue Dodge Journey traveled,
southbound on Waverly Road.
okay. What did you, as far as BCI or other law enforcement, do in response?
We continued following the vehicle.
That include you?
Yes, I
All
did.
right. Take me from there then.
We went south, PCI went south on Waverly Road where I observed the Dodge Journey to have a brake light out on the driver's side. So at that point, we had an equipment violation, and I believe that Glasgow, our suspect, was also in the vehicle.
Okay,
So I let assisting MSP troopers know of the violation and what I had seen, so they can make a traffic stop in their marked patrol vehicles on the Dodge Journey.
okay, and you let MSP know because they're in uniform and they're driving marked vehicles versus what you're in at the time.
Correct.
All right, and did a traffic stop, or did MSP ultimately conduct a traffic stop from your information?
Yes, they did. They initiated a traffic stop. That vehicle eventually came to a stop in the Sunoco parking lot at Jolly and Lady.
Okay, and that, so this path of travel we talked about, apartment complex Waverly to the point where the vehicle was stopped by state police, is that within the city of Lansing,
Yes,
Ingham County, state of Michigan?
yes,
And when you, in fact, Waverly is the line between Ingham and Eaton, correct?
yes.
When the car was stopped at the gas station, did you make your way to that location?
Yes.
All right, take me from there then, please.
I exited my vehicle and approached the passenger side of the journey. I again looked at the male front passenger, and from there I was standing closer to them during surveillance, and from there could immediately recognize Glasgow based on my familiarization with his appearance.
All right, when you approached the car and was able to observe the male front passenger, was the door open or closed?
It was closed.
Okay, so you're looking through the window.
Yes,
All right. And if you saw Mr. Glasgow again, would you recognize him?
yes,
Did you see him in the courtroom today?
yes.
Please point him out and describe an article of clothing for me, please.
Blue and white button-up shirt.
Your Honor, let the record reflect that Officer Bush has identified Mr. Glasgow.
Any objection?
None.
All right, so now you're at the front passenger door and you're looking at Mr. Glasgow. What happened after that, please?
He put his hands up. He was calm and cooperative. I told him, I said, you'll be all right. He nodded his head to me. I opened the door so he could get out. We could place him under arrest. Well, once the door was open, he looked down at some property by his feet and he said, "It's all right there."
Okay,
And then I had him get out and place him in handcuffs, and he was placed in the custody of the state police after that.
all right. Now, after he's placed in custody, let's talk about any observations you made regarding the property that he sort of verbally identified, sort of non-verbally and verbally identified when you made contact with him. Did you have the opportunity to look at or secure that property?
Yes.
All right, so tell me about what you saw initially when Mr. Glasgow both non-verbally and verbally identified or brought attention to it.
After he had said that to me, that it's all there, and placed him in custody from outside the vehicle, I could see a pink trash bag with a blue backpack inside it.
Okay.
The backpack was unzipped. The first thing that caught my eye was a tan frame of a firearm where I could see a trigger guard.
Okay.
So I knew, just based on my experience in carrying firearms and coming into contact with firearms as a police officer, that's what was in the bag.
Okay, I'm gonna pause you right there. I'm gonna show you a couple things. First, People's Exhibit 12 that's been received by stipulation. What are we looking at here in People's 12? I get fingers on the way.
That is the blue Dodge Journey in the Sunoco parking lot.
Okay. Now, People's 13, are we still looking at a portion of the blue Dodge Journey?
Yes,
All right, what portion of the journey are we looking at here?
we're looking through the front passenger door.
Okay, and what, if anything, can you point out or describe that we've discussed already?
The pink trash bag with the open blue backpack, and I can see the tan frame of the firearm.
All right, what part of the vehicle is this bag or bags with items located inside of the vehicle?
It's on the floorboard in front of the front passenger seat.
All right, now I'm gonna move a little closer to you. If you can just point out for Mr. Carter and the judge where the pink bag is, and then specifically the tan frame that you're referring to.
Pink bag is right here, kind of leaning out of the doorway.
Right,
And then inside the blue backpack, you can see this tan frame of the firearm.
all right, and was the bag like this when you first opened the door?
Yes,
All right. And you're saying from where you were standing in your vantage point that you could visually observe that that tan object was a portion of a firearm?
yes.
Moving to Go ahead. Moving to People's 14, what are we looking at here in People's 14?
That's a closer up picture of the bag after I had moved it closer to me for viewing, and I can see the frame with two firearms inside the blue bag.
And is one of those, you've identified two firearms?
Yes,
All right, is one of those the tan framed firearm that you observed before moving the bag?
yes, it's the same one I saw before, and it's exactly what I thought it was.
And I'm sort of, is that this right here? We're almost right dead center of the picture.
Yes, right.
All right, what steps did you take as or in connection with that bag after you made some of those observations?
I pulled it closer to me to begin searching the bag, and then I noticed a third firearm on the floorboard next to the bag, which was a tan and black handgun.
All right. And what, if anything else, do you remember during your search of the bag or search of the vehicle?
We recovered 2 loaded magazines, 2 empty magazines, a white sock that was tied full of ammunition that had majority was 7.62 ammunition, 2 different kinds. There was silver casing, gray casings, and gold casings that had a red ring on the primer.
Okay.
There was various other tools and accessories to firearms such as triggers and a backplate as well.
So I'm going to show you what has been received as People's 15. What are we looking at People's 15?
That's the tan and black handgun I saw on the floor next to the pink trash bag, and that magazine is also laying on the floor next to the handgun.
And do you know make, model, caliber of this off the top of your head?
The caliber in the magazine was 9mm. It appeared that it was meant for that gun, but there was no serial number on that handgun. It appeared to maybe a custom built handgun.
When Mr. Glasgow was arrested or handcuffed, detained, in addition to some of these items, the guns and ammunition you referenced, anything else as far as personal effects?
Now, Officer Jenks retrieved his cell phone.
Okay, so some cell phones were also,
Yes.
all right. So I'm going to show you People's 16. What are we looking at in People's 16?
It's an overall photo of some of the items we recovered from the vehicle. There's the original rifle I saw in plain view with the tan frame.
Is this the one at the very bottom?
Yes.
Okay.
And then the black firearm was the second one in the backpack.
The one that's in the middle of the picture?
Yes, that
Okay.
was a 7.62 held up rifle style pistol. And then other accessories such as there's empty magazines, detached pistol grip, a filing tool, oil for cleaning the firearm, and then drill bit.
Okay. And what are these two objects up here in the sort of upper left corner?
2 cell phones.
People 17, is this just an individual photograph of that 9mm that was outside of the bag but on the floorboard?
Yes.
People's 21,
That's the help up rifle. That was the second located firearm in the backpack.
in that plastic bag / backpack.
Blue backpack within the pink trash bag.
Okay. And so this one was next to the tan framed.
Yes.
People's 23.
It's a close up of the serial number of the black help up
Oh.
rifle style pistol.
It is also have caliber stamped in the frame as well.
Yes, it says 7.62.
And then what is in People's 24?
It's a 7.62 magazine.
And was that located at the same time?
Yes.
Thank you, Judge. No further questions.
Cross team.
Officer Bush, my name is David Carter. I represent Mr. Glasgow in this matter. I'm going to ask you a series of questions. If there's a question you don't understand, please let me know and I'll rephrase that. Fair enough?
Yeah.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Sir, you indicated that on 11/22/24, you were doing a surveillance on this area, or was it a specific house you were surveilling, or were you just out looking around?
A specific apartment complex.
Okay, and what information did you have that caused you to want to sit out of that apartment?
Detective Zoll and I provided BCI information that was a complex Glasgow had been frequent.
And you indicated that you saw that somebody saw Mr. Blackgo enter the apartment complex. Is that correct?
Yes, the
Was
night prior.
The night prior.
Yes.
Was there any information that was given whether he was carrying a pink bag at that time?
No.
And then you indicated that later that the next day is prior to the stop, when the female gets into the vehicle, was she carrying anything?
I don't recall her carrying anything.
Was that something you eyewitnessed?
I witnessed her exit the building. I don't remember her carrying anything.
All right, and were you the guy who eyewitnessed the black male enter the vehicle at that time?
No, I was not.
Do you know who was?
Officer Miller watched him exit the rear of the building. And he walked around the east side to where Officer Tenbrink had a view towards the northeast corner of the building. He's the one that watched the
And
male get into the vehicle.
were you given any information that he was carrying anything at that time?
I don't remember anybody telling me that he was carrying anything.
And we're looking at the exhibits that shows the pink bag. That's a rather large bag, isn't that correct?
Yes.
With a backpack in it.
Yes.
That would be something that would be conveyed to the team if somebody was carrying something that big into a car, correct?
It could have been. I don't remember if it was or not.
Well, I can appreciate that, but wouldn't that be standard practice to let everybody know, hey, he's got something big in his hand?
Yes.
All right, thank you. And, but you don't recall hearing anything like that, correct?
Correct.
And you indicated that Mr. Glasgow said that it's all right there. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Were you wearing a body cam at that time?
Yes.
All right. And did he elaborate on it's all right there, what that meant?
No, he did not.
Did you ask him?
No.
Was, when he said it's all right there, was he exiting the vehicle
No, he was still seated with his hands up.
with his hands up in the vehicle? And where was the driver at that time?
I don't know if anybody had gotten her out yet or not. My attention was focused on him.
Okay, and what did you do with him?
I had him step out, turn around, face the vehicle, and I placed him in handcuffs.
And where'd you go from there?
I walked him, I made sure MSP troopers had control of him. And then I looked where the doorway was open in that photo we observed earlier, where I could see the open bags.
All right. And when you said that you made sure that, did you say MSP had him?
Yes, that's who took physical custody, so you could sit into a marked control vehicle.
And do you know if they took him to a marked control vehicle at that time?
Yes, they did.
All right. Do you know where the driver was at that point?
No, I don't know where she.
Was she still in the car?
I don't. By the time I looked back through the doorway after Mr. Glasgow was in custody, there was nobody else in the car.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. I have nothing to.
Redirect.
I just wanted clarification. When you open the door to the journey, Mr. Glasgow's still sitting in the vehicle.
Yes.
Where was the bag in relation to Mr. Glasgow's person at that time?
Up against his leg,
All right, it's right in between.
directly in front of him. Right.
Nothing further, Judge, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Officer Bush. Any other witnesses?
No, Judge, the people rest, thank you.
Is the defense calling any witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
Yeah, exhibit.
May I approach?
Yes. And this was the clips that you played, correct? Okay.
Correct, Judge.
What was people's date?
Those 8 were the medical records. That would be the thumb drive that should be with
Okay.
the 90211 certification, so it would be the complete full record of the medical records, with people's 9 being some of the excerpts.
Okay. Proceed to argument.
Thank you, Judge. Judge, I'm gonna ask for bind over on both files sort of contemporaneously. I think the testimony lays out that the events and really the investigation of the shooting that happened on November 21st, 2024 spills into November 22nd, 2024. I know that cases are sort of split up in 2 different pleadings, but they're inherently connected. The other thing I will point out first, by way of just an amendment on, I'm sorry, I don't have the docket number, on the assault murder file, count 1 has a date on or about November 22nd. Certainly the testimony is November 21st. And so with that, I'll just sort of go over some of the testimony and evidence this court has heard. Taking us back to the last time, the first witness people called was Officer Zuber. through his testimony, he indicated that on the specific date of November 21st, 2024, he was on an unrelated or working an unrelated call in the area of West Miller near the intersection of West Miller and Coach Light Commons. Of course, that is within the city of Lansing, County of England, state of Michigan. While driving on that to that unrelated investigation or call, he observed two individuals out of a vehicle that he described as a black Audi SUV. Those two individuals were outside on Coach Light Commons, and they were actively shooting at the direction of a U-Haul vehicle and a house that was sort of behind the U-Haul vehicle. Described the two individuals as black males with their face being covered, and noted that as it relates to the black Audi, there were two doors and only two doors open, the front driver and the front passenger doors. He further indicated that the Michigan registration plate for the black Audi was EWN 5458. Moving from Officer Zuber to Officer McClinton, he was also working on the specific date of November 21st, 2024, and he was dispatched to the specific address of 3508 Coach Light Commons, again, within the city of Lansing, Ingham County, state of Michigan. I believe it was through Officer McClinton's testimony, but certainly might have been another officer, that specific address is in close proximity to the intersection between Coach Light Commons and West Miller, which would be consistent with Officer Zuber's testimony, which was something to the effect of those two individuals were shooting at the U-Haul and vehicle that were only 2 or 3 houses from that intersection. Officer McClinton approached the residence, having observed multiple bullet strikes to the U-Haul and further observed multiple bullet strikes to the house, at which point he entered the residence to sort of check the welfare of any occupants and made contact with a person named identified as Devin Cheney, who he described as actively bleeding. Officer McClinton also testified that Mr. Cheney, that he had contact with Mr. Cheney at Sparrow Hospital, where he collected some evidence as it relates to this investigation. Again, going back to the last time we were here, we heard testimony from Officer Robert Olson, who is a CSI officer for the Lansing Police Department, who was working on the specific date of November 21st, 2021. And sorry, I may have misspoke. Detective indicated I may have mispronounced or yes, it's David Cheney, not Devin Cheney.
My notes, but I figured it was.
Yeah, and I actually have written David here. I just misspoke, sorry. Officer Robert Olson, from the crime scene officer for the Lansing Police Department, was working on the specific date of November 21st, 2024, was dispatched to the same address that Officer McClinton referenced, which was 3508 Coach Light Commons. And from Officer Olson, who processed the scene with both walkthrough, photographs, and collection of evidence. He described seeing a U-Haul vehicle outside of a residence that had multiple bullet strikes, somewhere in the range of 16 bullet strikes. That is visually depicted in People's Exhibit 2 and 3. Officer Olson also testified to the house having multiple bullet strikes, which is visually depicted in People's 6 and 7. Through scene processing, Officer Olson both visually observed, collected, and photographed multiple fired cartridge casings, otherwise or more colloquially known as fired bullet casings, visually depicted in People's 2 and 3, and completed a sketch of the scene that he processed, which is People's Exhibit 1. Of note, People's Exhibit 1, it certainly outlines, well, not to scale necessarily, outlines the location of 3508 Coach Light Commons, the intersection of, that residence relationship to the intersection of West Miller and Coach Light Commons, which are also consistent with Officer Zuber's observations. Certainly of note, from the scene processing, Officer Olson only recovered 2 forms or 2 calibers of fired cartridge casings or bullet casings, that being 9mm and fired cartridge or bullet casings in caliber, size, or description as 7.62 by 39. As part of the ongoing investigation, Officer Olson also testified to processing a black Audi Q5, a registered owner of Pharrell Morgan, that had a license plate EWN 5458, which is the same registration Officer Zuber testified to. And then through some assistance, Officer Olson testified to the VIN of that Audi, which ended with the last four of 0531. Officer Golden Trooper Golden from the state police testified the last time we were here. His testimony starts to move into the second day of the investigation, which was November 22nd, 2025. Having received information about, from surveillance about a Dodge Journey, noticed tail light was out or defective brake light, described it as a Dodge Journey heading south on Waverly, traffic stop on Waverly Road near Sheffield, identified the front passenger as the female, and I believe name identified the front passenger, but ultimately turned the scene over to Officer Bush, who the court heard from today. From Trooper Golden's testimony, we have the second date. We also have this secondary location, Waverly Road, at or near the Sunoco, Sheffield, or as we heard, Jolly and Waverly, which is in the city of Lansing, Ingham County, state of Michigan. Going slightly out of order, we heard last from Officer Bush today. His testimony largely consisted of relevant information from November 22nd, 2024, specifically being involved with the surveillance that ultimately led to the traffic stop. And from that, and from his from his testimony, he not only visually identified Mr. Glasgow here in court today, but identified him on the date of that police encounter on the 22nd of November 2024. Described detaining Mr. Glasgow and describing visually and in proximity all of the evidence, specifically the gun and cell phone evidence that this court has received visually in People's Exhibits 12 through 24. Notably, a 9mm handgun and a black Hell Pup, I think what he described as a sort of rifle-style pistol that has the stamped caliber of 7.6239. And then we'll end with the testimony that this court heard from Detective Zolnai that spanned both days. Detective Zolnai talked about the investigative process of the shooting that happened on the 21st, and as that investigation continued into the 22nd of November 2024. That the scene of the shooting was 3508 Coachlight Commons, an address that he traveled to as part of the investigation as the detective, consistent with the testimony we heard from Officer McClinton and Officer Olson, the CSI officer, that address being within the city of Lansing, Ingham County, state of Michigan. Detective Zolnai talked about his observations at the scene, the bullet holes in the U-Haul and the home, consistent with the previous officer's testimony. Building upon that, we have People's Exhibits 8 and 9, so the Sparrow records from victim David Cheney. That while we don't have the direct testimony from Mr. Cheney himself, we have his sort of replacement or alternative via those records. It identifies him as the victim of a shooting on People's Exhibit 9, page 1. It identifies his injuries, a gunshot wound to the leg, page 9. I'm sorry, People's Exhibit 9, page 1, 29, 32, and 33. It also corroborates Mr. Cheney's statement to medical, corroborates the scene of the shooting, specifically the U-Haul vehicle, and that's also captured in People's 9, page 1. From the collected evidence in this case, specifically the evidence collected from the traffic stop, people visually identified in People's 12 through 24. Detective Zolnai talked about the gun or firearm evidence that was located during the traffic stop, specifically a 9mm pistol and a 7.62 by 39 rifle style pistol, a unique caliber that connects and links directly back to or is consistent with the fired casings found the previous day. Those items of evidence we know from Officer Bush were located touching or in between or next to or at the feet of the defendant, who was visually identified by Officer Bush here in court. That also accompanied the statement upon immediate contact, Mr. Glasgow telling Officer Bush, it's all right here. From there, Detective Zolnai's testimony and admitted evidence largely is for the purpose of connecting this defendant, Mr. Glasgow, to the shooting itself. We have information obtained via search warrant of the Audi's infotainment system that shows that the cell phone associated with Mr. Glasgow with a unique IMEI number connected to the Audi's infotainment system. You couple that with the evidence from the extraction of Mr. Glasgow's phone, in which Mr. Glasgow's phone connects to the Audi Q5. This is People's Exhibit 10. This evidence is more informative than the infotainment extraction or evidence, because it shows that Mr. Glasgow's phone was connected to the Audi MMI or multimedia interface. It's specifically listed in the extraction as Audi MMI 0531, which happens to be the exact VIN number of the black Audi Q5 with the same license plate as previously testified by the officers. It shows that on People's 10 that Mr. Glasgow's phone connected to the Audi on November 21st, 2024, the date of the shooting, at 10 a.m. So approximately in almost 2 hours before the shooting, and then disconnects from the black Audi on the date of the shooting, November 21st, 2024, at 12:04 p.m. So about probably inside of 10 minutes from the shooting. And you add that to the video evidence or live photo evidence that was admitted in People's 11, that those videos were created on the date of the shooting, November 21st, 2024. The times in which they were created were inside of a half hour from the shooting itself. And each of the videos depicts Mr. Glasgow speaking in the videos and talking about the unique facts of this case, specifically mentioning the U-Haul, the shooting, and then name identifying himself and Bandit as the individuals that ran up, and I believe in one case put blood on him, while also sort of non-verbally depicting or pantomiming, I think is the similar word that Detective Zolnai described, the action of shooting. So from that evidence that was admitted, I believe that from the people's perspective establishes both direct and circumstantially Mr. Glasgow's connection in this investigation. So as we look at the two felony complaints, the first being on the date of November 21st, 2024, he's charged with assault with intent to murder, the specific victim being David Cheney. David Cheney, keep doing it, sorry. Thank you, Detective.
You must know a Devin Cheney.
Yeah, there's had some interaction with a Devin Cheney. Also charged CCW and felony firearms that go along with the alternative count of assault, felonious assault. From the collection or the totality of the evidence, it's the people's position that the defendant should be bound over on all 5 of those charges as they presently are, with the one amendment to the date. And then in the second complaint, the defendant is charged with carrying a concealed weapon, and that applies specifically to the traffic stop event on the date of November 22nd, 2024, at or near South Waverly and Jolly. And that clearly is from the admitted evidence from the traffic stop and the multiple weapons that were found, at least one of which being a pistol found at his feet that he both non-verbally and verbally identifies for Officer Bush. So for that, people also believe that that other case should be bound over as charged. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Your Honor. Would be opposed to a bind over. I think that the prosecution has, well, they have two burdens, basically. A burden that shows that there's probable cause that crime was committed and probable cause that the defendant committed those crimes. I believe that the prosecutor did a great job in satisfying the first one, that there's probable cause that crime was committed. However, I do not believe that he's laid enough evidence to show that there's probable cause that my client committed that crime. What we saw was a cell phone that was inside an Audi that was linked to this crime. However, we had no witnesses that indicated that they saw Mr. Glasgow with that phone or even in the Audi. Matter of fact, I believe that there's evidence that the officer testified that when he observed the Audi, he couldn't see if there was other people in that vehicle. Mere presence during a crime does not implicate you in that crime. So we would be opposed to the bind over on that. In regards to the CCW charge, there's no evidence that indicated that Mr. Glasgow actually knew what was in the bag. He indicated, made a sound, it's all right there, but we don't know what he was referring to because the officer never asked him. We don't know why he was pulled over. There was no information there. Thank you.
Today was the date scheduled to finish the preliminary examination. The burden is on the prosecution. They need to establish probable cause that these felonies were committed and probable cause sufficient to charge you, Mr. Glasgow, as the person who committed the felonies. This is not a trial. They don't need to prove each element beyond a reasonable doubt. They just need to establish more than mere suspicion. The court is the sole determiner of any credibility issues of the witnesses at the time of the examination. I'm not going to reiterate the typically I go over the testimony, but I calculated as the prosecution made their argument, it was over 15 minutes worth of evidence. And I respect the fact, Mr. Carter, that you gotta make some defense, but I largely disagree that the fact that a cell phone was connected to a vehicle seen at the or connected to the scene of the incident is not sufficient probable cause. I don't know how many of us will have cell phones, but I think all of us do. It's not likely that any of us, but particularly people in your client's age range, would be outside of their cell phone. It's like lifelines for us. So for me to believe that his cell phone was maybe stolen, it's possible, but it's also possible that he was there. But I have to also note that you never once mentioned the other piece of evidence, which is some glaring evidence, and that is videos that were taken in short proximity of the alleged incident, where statements are being made, and they're talking about evidence distinctive to this incident, about him pulling up on a U-Haul, or the guy's head's down, him and Bandit, and they put one on him, or they put blood on him, and allegedly shot the defendant while he's in, or the victim, that is, while he's in a U-Haul, which we know, based on the evidence here from the first half of this examination, was that there was a U-Haul shot up at the scene. We see in People's Exhibits 2 through 4, where it shows this U-Haul in front of the location of the incident on Coach Light at or near West Miller. Take that also into consideration with the fact that the very next day, after officers have already been surveying the area in which they believe the defendant to be, that a traffic stop is executed, and at or near the defendant is a pink bag full of guns and ammunition, to which near him, and he states to the officer, "It's all right here." Obviously, it would be nice for the officer to say what's all right there, but if you look at the totality of the circumstances, it almost appears that Mr. Glasgow knew what they were looking for. Whether or not that's the case, I'll leave that to a trier of fact. We have an assault with intent to murder, The people are asking to amend that to the date of November 21st, 2024. That motion is granted based on the testimony. The officers testified that Officer Zuber testified that on or about the date of November 21st, 2024, he was at the area at West Miller Avenue near Coach Light. When he heard the sounds of a firearm or weapons being discharged, he said about 50 yards away from where he was. And the people have asked to charge in this file number, I think the actual file number on this one is 24-03481. They have asked to charge count 1, assault with intent to murder, or in the alternative, assault with a dangerous weapon, that being felonious assault. To do assault with intent to murder, they first would have to prove by a probable cause standard that the defendant tried to physically injure another person. Second, that the defendant committed the assault, or when he committed the assault, he had the ability to cause an injury, or at least believe that he had the ability. And third, that the defendant intended to kill the person he assaulted. We have evidence brought forth during the series of this exam that the defendant, Mr. Glasgow, who was identified by Trooper Golden, and also identified by today Officer Bush, that the defendant was identified or connected to a number of evidentiary leads to this incident. Officer Zuber first seen or calling out the site to where he was. They're then locating the vehicle that matched that description, the VIN number and the license plate number being traced, and that there being a cell phone that was uniquely identified by a number but connected or owned by Mr. Glasgow, being connected to that vehicle in question that was seen by Officer Zuber at the scene of the incident during the time frame of the alleged incident, and disconnecting within 10 minutes of the alleged shooting. And then video, again, about 30 minutes after the alleged shooting, which showed Mr. Glasgow and someone identified as Bandit talking about circumstances of this alleged shooting, and that he caught the guy with the head down inside of with his head down inside of a U-Haul, and it's to be interpreted shot or put blood on him. And so based on that evidence, the court is satisfied that the defendant had or tried to physically injure the person identified as David Shaney through the testimony, identified through the testimony of Officer McClinton and the exhibits 9, 8, and 9 from the people admissions for the medical records, and that the defendant, when he allegedly committed the assault, that he had the ability to cause the injury, or at least believed he had the injury, and I think that's clearly evidenced by, even if we just look at the video that was admitted with the defendant talking about rolling up on the U-Haul and spraying it with bullets. And third, the defendant intended to kill the person that he assaulted. Again, I think if we look at the People's Exhibit 2, 3, and 4, it shows a U-Haul in front of the house on Coach Light, sprayed with bullets. I think they recovered over 16 or 17 shell casings from 2 different firearms, which Officer Zuber said he did identify 2 Black individuals. They looked younger in age, but they had masks on, but they both had firearms, I believe was his testimony. And then when Officer Bush made the traffic stop, located a bag with firearms that had that were caliber similar or consistent in nature with the casings that were recovered. One of those firearms and cases being quite unique. And so the court is satisfied as to count 1, assault with intent to murder. That will be bound over to the circuit court with the amendment to the date of November 21st, 2024. Weapons carrying concealed. Let's see, that also would be amended on the date for November 21st, 2024. And the allegations is that the defendant did carry a weapon, that being a pistol, on or about his person or otherwise in a vehicle or occupied by said defendant. The testimony of Officer Zuber would satisfy the court's need for probable cause that he identified two individuals outside of a black small SUV vehicle, which later, through further discovery, was connected or determined to be the defendant and another individual. So count 3 will be bound over to the circuit court. Count 4 and 5 are felony firearms that accompany both count 1. Those will be bound over. There was testimony of a traffic stop, which the court just briefly went over again. And at the time of that traffic stop, based largely in part on a surveillance that was ongoing, I believe, from the November 21st event, but also there was an equipment violation. So officers made the stop on the blue Dodge Journey, I believe it was, and located a pink trash bag with a backpack inside of it. And from and while open, the trash bag and the backpack, you could see the handle of a tan handle of a firearm. But there was a statement allegedly made by the defendant that it's all right here, and officers located, it sounds like a series of firearms, which were evidence in the people's stipulated exhibits 12 through 24. There was more than one firearm that was recovered, but it's only being charged with one. So that will be bound over to the circuit court. The bind over date is February 26th. That's the date the circuit court's going to get the file from the district court. You do not need to appear in circuit court on that date, okay, Mr. Glasgow? Your next court date is going to be a pretrial in the circuit court, and your attorney will be made aware of that. Has your address changed?
Yes, ma'am.
When did it change?
When I just recently got out of incarceration.
Okay. What is your new address?
1708 Theodore.
Theodore, is that in Lansing?
Yeah.
Is your phone number the same?
No.
What's the address again?
1708 Theodore Street.
And phone number?
1 second. 682 430 5486.
I'm trying to find out what the handling was for magistrate no more than. I think she was saying he was couch. She's right. Got it. That makes sense now. Okay, so you have an address. We'll update that in the system as well as your new number. A bond on the attempted murder charge is 50,000 cash surety. That will continue with GPS tether. You have a tether?
Yes.
Okay, you're not to be within 2,000 feet of the alleged victim. And the other bond was 2,000 cash surety. Both will continue. Any additional matters for the record?
Nothing to the people, Judge. Thank you.
Nothing for the defense.
Thank you. You're all set.
Thank you.
I'll give you these, yeah.